Happy Friday. Hey, I haven't talked to you guys in a while, and look who showed up to surprise me for Mother's Day. Can you tell? We're related. So, you guys heard a lot about Ben. And I decided to do a video because we've been sitting here talking about all the coronavirus stuff and everything, and like you guys, we see all this kinds of all things on the news regarding the coronavirus. But the one thing I've noticed that hasn't been mentioned a whole lot is a big major cause of an underlying cause that's not discussed very often in the news. And you guys know what I'm going to say, don't you? Because you know what I preach all the time. So anyway, but the reason I want to do the video is because Ben's a nutritionist. In fact, I put his information down in the link for his runner's motivation, YouTube stuff. So if you want to learn more after this, you can check it out. But I was thinking about some of the underlying causes, and I want to kind of ask Ben, like, what's your take? Because we go back and forth on this all the time. So what is your take on the whole coronavirus thing, and what causes a lot of the severe illness regarding it?
Yeah, so with all this, we're not saying that any of this is obviously a cure or any of this is going to fix it right away, but one of my whole theories about this, and this is where I started down, was my first theory was that a lot of the deaths related to heart disease, cancer, diabetes, all these things, flu even, all the deaths, if you look at like from March to now, it's dropped down to almost zero, meaning that like a lot of the deaths in the hospitals are not related to any of these causes anymore. Because normally we're having about 1 million deaths a year for like heart disease, for example, but the heart disease deaths are going way down and the coronavirus deaths are going up. So one of my theories was, at first was that I thought that a lot of the deaths weren't really coronavirus, there was something else, and coronavirus was causing them to die. So it was coronavirus that was technically killing them, but in a sense it's because it had these underlying causes. So I wanted to figure out what was going on,
which has been well documented.
Yeah,
that's true.
And so I started doing my own research on kind of what different things were, and a lot of people I follow, a lot of different nutritionists, such as Dr.Berg is one person I follow. You can check him out on YouTube. Brian Sanders is another nutritionist I follow on Instagram, and there's many more, but they had posted some studies on vitamin D. Now, if you guys don't know what vitamin D is, it's a vitamin that your body needs, actual hormone in the body. So it's really like you need vitamin D for so many different things in your body, and vitamin D comes mainly from the sun. So when you're out in the sun like this, we're getting vitamin D right now, right? If we're out here for 20-30 minutes, is a good time to be out in the sun. You can just go out for 20-30 minutes a day. You'll get a lot of vitamin D in. You don't need to do much more than that. If you can, go out for an hour, 2 hours, but even just 30 minutes. If you could just get your parents to sit outside in chairs like this, or just go for a little walk, you can get your vitamin D in. But with the studies, the first study I had found, which was Brian Sanders had posted, was that anyone that had a vitamin D level of the range of 30 or above. So if you don't know, it's called nanograms per milliliter. It's just numbers, okay? So we're just gonna say the range of 30. So mainly you want to have a range of about 50. 40 to 60 is the range you want to have. That's the optimal range. But someone who's over 30 in these studies is proven to be stronger against this virus. If you're under 20, you're deficient, and 20 to 29.9 is insufficient, meaning that you don't have a deficiency, but you have a low level of vitamin D. So they found that the people that were deficient had like a 50% to a 55% chance of getting a critical or severe case of the coronavirus. People who are insufficient had about a 45 to 50% chance, but people who had no deficiency or no insufficiency of the range of 30 or above were 96% likely to have a mild case of this virus.
No matter what age.
No matter what age. It doesn't matter what age, if you're all the way up to 80 years old. If you had a good level of vitamin D, you're 96% of every single person. And then this study was done with 780 people. So
if they wanted to look for that study,
you could look up Brian Sanders. Look up Brian Sanders or even Paul Saladino. Instagram, and it'll come up with everything right there.
Okay.
You can click on it. You can look it all up.
Mine's 39, by the way, but that was a couple years ago. I've been working on it.
Yeah.
Because actually, you know, not just what he said, but vitamin D, lack of vitamin D is been proven to be like very correlation between all kinds of cancers. If you're low in vitamin D, you have a much higher risk of getting
Cancer,
cancers,
diabetes, hypertension.
Yes, any kind of heart disease.
High blood pressure.
Yeah.
And the thing about vitamin D is that 28.9% of all people in the world are deficient in vitamin D, and 70% are insufficient. So that means that 70% of all people in the United States and whatever have a higher chance of dying from this coronavirus, a way higher chance. And there's other studies, so I'm going to go over some other studies. So there's a study done in Sweden, and it's a little town called Stockman, and basically had immigrants there. These immigrants were African American, and they took up about 0.84% of the population. And in this, they found that 40% of the coronavirus deaths in that little town were from these immigrants, 40% of them, but the population was only 0.84%. So about half the deaths were from this small little group of people, and they found that these people were African Americans, had darker skin. And when you have darker skin, basically you have more melatonin, meaning you could like tan easier, someone who tans easier. Well, these people don't need as much vitamin D, or they need more vitamin D because they're darker, right? So when you're darker, you don't get sunburns easily, so you need more vitamin D. Someone who's very white and pale, someone who's living like in San Francisco or someone who's very cloudy, their skin naturally gets lighter so that they can pull in more UV rays into the body. And someone who is darker, right, is obviously darker because they want to be able to protect themselves from the sun, because they're out like in somewhere where it's very hot, like Africa is very hot and it's very sunny, so they need to protect themselves.
Yeah, but Sweden's a rich people live in Sweden.
Yes, but they had immigrants there.
Are those immigrants rich?
No. I don't know if they're rich. They didn't say in the study. The whole point of it, though, is that they were African American. The skin was darker, and they had lower levels of vitamin D. And they knew in the study that most of the population were not over 60 years old, and the population mostly did not have diabetes, cancer, hypertension, none of that stuff. Most of the population was healthy, but they had low levels of vitamin D. So they didn't have any of the other underlining causes that a lot of us are having, like diabetes right now, and cardiovascular disease, and all these different things that are causing us to die from this. They didn't have a mass majority of those things like we do. They just had lower levels of vitamin D.
So why do you think the media is not publicizing the fact that we need more vitamin D?
Because they don't want. It's free. You sit out it's so easy. You sit out in the sun and you're here. Look, I'm getting vitamin D right now, and I'm getting healthier as I sit out here. And they don't want to do that because they can't make money off that. You can't make money off vitamin D, and it's scary because you think, no, the news stations, like, I follow this guy on Fox News or on CNN. There's no way he's that mean. It's like, yeah, that's what's going on. And I could name 3 or 4 or 5 other studies that have to do with this vitamin D and how vitamin D is so beneficial, and how if you take it, you could basically help yourself with this coronavirus. But one thing I can say, I'm going to talk about this real quickly, is that I got sick. I don't know what I had.
He had it right after me.
I had it right after. I believe it was...
And we weren't even together. He's still in Texas.
I was still in Texas at the time, and I believed I had coronavirus, but let's say I didn't. I had a shortness of breath. I was sick for 10 days, but on the 8th day, I pushed myself to go outside and go for a 30-minute walk, because I was like, I want to go outside and go for a walk. When I got back from that, I felt better the rest of the day than I've ever felt in those last 8 days. Felt way better. And that was because I got out in the sun and got some vitamin D, and I think that helped me fight through whatever I had. And 2 days later, or like a day and a half later, I was completely no sickness. And I had gone outside twice those 2 days. So I don't know if I did have coronavirus, if I got over it, or if I had something else, but whatever I had, the vitamin D is able to help that. Because the vitamin D boosts your immune system to be able to fight these viruses.
And you know what? You know what depresses your immune system? Sugar.
Yep, sugar.
Sugar depresses your immune system.
Sugar and seed oils.
Yeah, like vegetable oil and stuff, canola oil.
Any fast food, any processed foods, all that stuff is going to have vitamin D levels drop.
So we're not saying that that's like the only thing. Okay, we're not.
No.
That's not. We're not.
We're not saying
that.
We're not saying that.
It's just that we were sitting here talking about this, and I thought, you know what? We should just do a YouTube video, because
We're just
you guys
saying.
will probably be interested in that, because
We're just saying if you increase your vitamin D levels, you have a really, really high chance of not having a severe case, and you have a way higher chance of having a mild case. And it's not just from this to this, it's from this to this of a chance. And if you really can increase your vitamin D levels in the next month or so, you could have a really higher chance of not getting it, and especially older people.
And the other thing too is now we're looking at like the nice summer weather and stuff. And I don't know if you guys have been following, but this virus is not going to go away.
No.
No. We're going to get another phase of this. And if you're like me and we're going, if we go back to school, if I go back to school, I don't even know what's going to happen. But, we're going to be in the middle of a regular, cold and flu season anyway.
Yep.
So it's better to work on it now.
Yeah, I keep telling everybody, you need to stop thinking about staying inside and getting away from the virus. You need to think about what can I do to help myself when I get it. Because you're most likely going to get it, and if you do get it and you have severe symptoms, it's going to suck.
That's not, and that by no means, because we kind of disagree on that a little bit. So by no means does it mean to go out.
No.
And,
It just means you need to make sure you're really working on being healthy and just learning.
Sleeping.
Just look up, like I like to listen to Dr. Berg, look up people and just learn about simple healthy stuff. You just get 8 hours of sleep, get out in the sun for an hour a day, and cut out sugar and just some processed foods. Right there, you're making yourself tenfold stronger for this virus.
And besides that, the anxiety and depression will be lifted a lot too.
Yeah, your stress,
bringing down a lot of things will get better.
Yeah, just bringing down your inflammation and just being less stressed is going to help you with all of this. So.
Okay, we could talk for like forever. So.
Yeah, just be strong with all this. It's gonna just keep fighting with it. I mean, it's gonna be hard, but we've gone through worse. I mean, you've gone through probably worse than this. You could go through it. Don't doubt yourself on this. We're all strong. Let's just keep going.
Okay, talk to you later. Bye. Oh, comment down below if you want to talk about it.